Hook. What would you do if a group of people tried to bully you out of something you loved, something you'd earned, without even realizing you held the one card that could change everything? This is the story of how a single boat, a hidden truth, and a lot of stubborn pride created a storm far bigger than the ripples on a quiet lake. I moved into Lakeshore Meadows 3 years ago, after the hardest chapter of my life. My wife had passed away unexpectedly, and I wanted peace, not neighbors watching me with pity. The lake by the property was my refuge. It wasn't just water. It was the place where I rebuilt myself. I'd take my old fishing boat out at dawn, the mist curling off the surface, and I'd remember what it felt like to breathe again. At first, the Homeowners Association didn't notice me much. I was the quiet guy at the end of the lane, the one who waved but never lingered. But peace has a way of drawing attention, especially in communities where rules are worshipped more than kindness. The first letter came on a rainy Tuesday. Dear homeowner, your boat creates unnecessary ripples that disturb the natural calm of the lake and the aesthetic harmony of the neighborhood. Please relocate your vessel immediately. Failure to comply will result in escalating fines. Ripples. That's what they were mad about, ripples. I laughed, at first. Surely this was a mistake. My boat wasn't loud, it wasn't flashy, and I rarely even ran the motor. But when I brought the letter to the next HOA meeting, expecting a quick apology, I met with stares sharper than broken glass. Mrs. Carver, the head of the OA, a woman with a voice like a whistle and the patience of a snapping turtle, leaned forward. Rules are rules. The lake is for community enjoyment. Your boat is selfish, disruptive, and frankly, an eyesore. That word, eyesore, stung more than I expected. This boat had been my wife's favorite thing. She'd helped me sand the wood, repaint the trim, even carve our initials into the side. It wasn't just a boat. It was memory, love, survival. I tried reason. I explained I only went out early mornings, I never littered, and I even stocked the lake with fish at my own expense. But the more I spoke, the harder their eyes hardened. It wasn't about rules. It was about control. The threats escalated. Fines appeared in my mailbox. Notices stuck on my door. Strangers whispered when I passed. All for a boat that rocked the water gently, like a heartbeat against the shore. But here's the twist: what they didn't know was that the lake wasn't theirs. It wasn't HOA property. It wasn't even county-owned. When I bought my home, the deed included the lake itself. I hadn't flaunted it, because why would I? I wasn't a man who needed to boast. Until they pushed me too far. Hook, imagine being cornered, humiliated, told you had no right to something that was entirely yours. Now imagine holding the one truth that could flip the entire story upside down. This was the moment I decided to stop being quiet. The breaking point came at dawn one Saturday. I was out, fishing, the water glassy and calm, when two HOA board members marched down to the shoreline, clipboards in hand. They waved their arms like I was some intruder trespassing on sacred ground. You need to move your boat immediately, one barked. We've decided your time on the lake is over. You're officially banned. From my own lake. Something inside me, something I'd kept buried since losing my wife, rose up. Not anger, not rage, resolve. That afternoon, I gathered every letter, every fine, every notice they'd slapped on my door. And then I pulled out my property deed. The crisp legal document that spelled it out in black ink: parcel, includes full rights and ownership of Lake Silverleaf. At the next HOA meeting, I waited patiently. I let them lecture me, berate me, even threaten to escalate to legal consequences. And then, I stood. I appreciate your concern, I said quietly. But I think you should read this. The room fell silent as the deed made its way across the table. Mrs. Carver's face drained of color. The others squirmed in their seats. One muttered, This can't be right."
"Oh, it's right,"
I said. "The lake is mine. Which means every time you've set foot on it, organized parties, or, let's not forget, collected fees for its so-called maintenance. You've been trespassing. The air went thick. Some neighbors looked ashamed. Others looked furious, but not at me. At the HOA, I didn't scream. I didn't threaten. I simply informed them that fines would now be issued to them. Trespassing fees, unauthorized use, and if they wanted access to my lake, they'd need to sign a usage agreement, drafted by me. The ripples they feared so much. They were nothing compared to the waves this revelation sent through the community. Over the next weeks, everything shifted. Neighbors who had once whispered now came to me apologetically. Some admitted they'd felt bullied by the HOA for years, but hadn't dared speak out. The board dissolved within months, and Mrs. Carver resigned, citing health reasons. And me, I kept my boat exactly where it was, carving through the water each morning like a quiet declaration of freedom. Epilogue. The message. Life has a way of testing us in strange, often unfair ways. Sometimes it feels like the world is intent on taking away the very things that give us peace. But here's the truth I want you to take from my story. Don't let others define what matters to you. Don't shrink yourself to make them comfortable. The ripples you create, whether on a lake, in your work, or in your life, might disturb someone who thrives on control. But those ripples, they're proof that you're alive, that you're moving forward. And sometimes, when you finally stand tall, you realize the lake was yours all along.